Now let's pick up where we left off with the 6 elements of pricing. We're moving into style. Dictionary.com says style is a particular kind, sort, or type, as with reference to form, appearance, or character. CollinsDictionary.com says style is the style of something is the general way in which it is done or presented, which often shows the attitudes of the people involved. These 2 definitions are very interesting. They don't talk just about what somebody's wearing. They kind of leave it up to you. If you think about it, your house can have a style. The type of sofas and chairs and lamps. And people can have style too. Style pertains to a lot of different things. Let's take a look at some popular styles now. So why is style so important when pricing? In-style items are high value. Out-of-style items are low value. Customer demand plays a large role in pricing items. If customers don't want it, it has to be cheaper, plain and simple. Things that are in style are worth more, and things that are out of style are worth less. So how do you find out about what's in style and what isn't? Style, it's everywhere. No, really it is. Take a look at the following. When you're at the mall, going to a store you might not usually go into. Fashion and lifestyle magazines, in stores or online, a lot of them are free. Websites that specialize in different styles, Pinterest and Vogue. Your friends and family. Ask about their brands, their clothing, their furniture, maybe even their lamps. Look at what folks are wearing in your own stores. Lastly, ask store leadership if they have special fashion days where you can learn about fashion in a group using online tools. The key is to get a solid understanding of style, because style plays a role in pricing. The more you know, the better you'll price. Now we're moving on to rarity, vintage or collectible. The definition of vintage is something that is 25 years or older. That goes for shoes, sofas, electronics, and clothing. The definition of antique is something that is 100 years or older, and that goes for toys, housewares, accessories, etc. When we're talking about rarity, vintage, collectible again, you have to figure out, how do I know if something is vintage or old? Look at the labels. If they look overly worn or have an old style of writing, check the buttons. Do they look unusual or have bright colors? Also, check the garment of clothing to see if there's a union label. Union labels were put into clothing starting in the 1900s and were used until the late 90s. These are all easy identifiers to help identify if something is old. Why is how old something is so important when pricing? Well, rarity and vintage collectible items are high value. Customers want these rare items. They're not made anymore, and because of that, they're hard to find and buy. That is why we need to identify this type of item and decide if it goes in the store or go to online. Let's take a look at some desirable vintage and antique items. All these items are rare and collectible and desired by our customers. Moving on to number 5, season. These 2 items represent when they would be sold best to get the most value. The idea is that we want to put items out that people will buy. The item on the left, best sold in spring and summer to get the most value. That makes sense. The item on the right, best sold in fall or winter to get the most value. By doing that, we're selling people what they want when they want it. The key is to be able to hold on to the items when it's not the right season and store them for later. That goes for the item on the left as well. Now, we can't store larger items. Best sold in spring or summer to get the most value. If we put those out during fall or winter, the price has to be lower. When we look at the items on the right, it's the same thing. Best sold in spring and summer to get the most value. It's hard to sell a paddleboard January 3rd. But if you're selling it in prime time, spring or summer, you can price it to its value. Number 6, online. Online e-commerce, selling product in stores and online, supports our mission of free job training and education. Online depends on stores to send all kinds of unique and high-end items to sell around the world. Yep, around the world. Sending items to online gets them a larger audience. Think of it this way. You receive a great mid-century modern sofa. Now you have two options. You could sell it at the store, or you could try to reach a higher value by sending it to online, which not only reaches the Puget Sound area, it reaches the world. This is something that you'll be discussing with your supervisor and or buddy trainer. Price to the value of an item, no more, no less. We do that by understanding what we're looking at when it comes to condition, quality, brand, style, rarity, and the use of the tools that we discussed to make the best educated pricing decision. Don't worry, this takes time, about 30 days. Lastly, you'll be assigned a buddy trainer to help you put to practice all the information you learned. In the next slides coming up, we're going to tie all this together with price mats, 6 elements of pricing, and all the information you learned about it. Our first example is an OXO stainless steel Pro 8-inch open frying pan. We see the Wares price mat, we can see all the categories on the left-hand side. We need to find pots and pans. Then we need to see where the OXO brand lives in the good, better, best value system. Once we do that, we can figure out the price from there. OXO's in the best category. Now we just need to move down to pots and pans. And we see a price range, $7.99 to $19.99. Now since we found where the price is, we know that it's between $7.99 and $19.99. That's a pretty big jump. The lower price point, $7.99, is for gently used. In the middle would be $14, which is almost new. $19 would be pretty much new like condition. Also, style plays a factor. Out of style items would go on the $7.99. More in style for $14. And then $19 would be for very hot, what people want, high desired items. Now there's one more thing. It's an 8-inch frying pan. They make 12-inch frying pans too. And if the 12-inch was in really good condition, we'd price that at $19. But since this is an 8-inch, we'll be pricing it at $14. You might be thinking, hey, this could be a little bit tough. Not to worry. You have buddy trainers and supervisors who'll be working with you right after this. This takes just a little bit of time and becomes habit. Let's take a look at our next example. We have a pair of BDG Urban Outfitters cotton pants. Now we need to find pants in the pants category on the left. Once we find that, we gotta see if there's BDG up in the good, better, best categories. Now once we find that, we need to move down to the price point of pants. Once we do that, we can see they're between $12.99 and $24.99. Now we have to decide, are those pants worth that? We have to think back to the 6 elements of pricing. We have to think back to the quality, the brand, the style of it. Now we know when it comes to quality, we think about materials. These are just cotton. Now the style is very popular, really in demand. Because of that, we're going to price them towards the higher side of the price point. So we're going to price these for $19.99. Now you might be thinking, well, why not $24? Well, these are kind of in style, but they're a little average. If they were a little bit more unique, maybe had more zippers, they were made out of a different fabric, then they would get $24. But because they're cotton, they get $19. Now in our next example, we see that it's a Merrell boot. We go over to the boots category. Now we have to see if Merrell is in the good, better, best, or ass category. As we're looking through though, we're not seeing Merrell. Merrell is not in any of the categories. So then what do? How do we figure it out? That's the question. Well, there's something called price association. Price association is where you usually see one thing come through. You know the price of that one item. You see it all the time. And because you know the quality of it, the material of it, the style of it, you can price another brand that you don't know that's not on the mat just like it. It's based off the same pricing elements. This will happen in a short amount of time. The key is understanding what you see a lot of, and then what you don't really know when you see something else, and pricing it about the same. So if we were to go to the price mat, we would go to Boots. We'd figure out what we did see that was like it, which was Timberland. And then we'd go over to which category that was in, we would find that, and then we'd find the price point for that. The price point for Timberland boots are between $9.99 and $49.99. Now, like we've discussed before, condition plays a part of it, so does style and material. Because that Timberland boot looks just like that Merrell boot, we would price them the same, the highest part because of the condition and the style, which would make those boots $49.99. Now, our price mats don't have all the brands on there. That'd be impossible, there's just too many to list. So price association will be happening more and more and more as you learn how to price. Price association helps you get a better, more true valued price by basing it off of other items you've seen. We here at Goodwill know this is a lot of information. But your next step is Buddy Trainer. After you've watched all your required videos, you'll be partnered up with a Buddy Trainer who will review and work with you on all the things you just learned. This takes time. We think you got this, and so do Buddy Trainers. Thank you for watching, and enjoy. End of part 2. Please stop video and take test 2.